Springfield, Missouri. 1953, a mysterious plague of cobras was unleashed. Let's learn all about it on a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True. Welcome back to The Internet Says It's True, where every week we learn something that sounds made up, but it's really true, part of the WCBE podcast experience, available on all podcast platforms, also the NPR app and website. Hey there. I'm Michael Kent. This is episode 224. Welcome back. Last week, I ran a rewind episode from 2021 about cobras, and the reason I did that is because this week's story is also about a cobra problem, but a different kind of problem, one that was created maliciously. If you heard the episode I did in May of 2023 about wild pythons in Florida, it was a story about snakes loose in the wild in an area where they're not native. And this story is similar with a few exceptions. One, the snakes were put there on purpose. Two, it happened on a much smaller scale. And three, it happened with much, much deadlier snakes. And we'll get into that in a bit. Also, stay tuned for Comedian Glen Tickle later in the episode. He's a favorite of the show. I wanted to give credit to one of our visitors, Dane Van Kirk, for giving me this topic. Thank you, Dane. He sent in the idea. If you want to chat about the episodes, give ideas for future topics, and get bonuses, including stickers, videos, ad-free episodes, and more, you can do that by joining the official Patreon of the show. That's at patreon.com/Michael Kent. Super easy to join. There's even an app that lets you do it. You can join at any level, from $1 on up, or sign up for a free trial. Once again, that's patreon.com/Michael Kent. Become a Tizitor today. This week's story continues our Cobra theme from last week. It happened in 1953 in Springfield, Missouri. The Indian Cobra is a highly venomous snake. The bite from this snake delivers between 100 and 250 milligrams of venom. For reference, it only takes about 20 milligrams to kill a human. It causes paralysis, respiratory failure, and death if not quickly treated. And when our story takes place in the 1950s, the concept of providing healthcare facilities with anti-venom preemptively, having them already there, was like a brand new idea. And that's considering hospitals are carrying anti-venom to treat snake bites from species that naturally occur in an area. There's nowhere in the United States where Indian cobras are native. With all of that said, it's important to know that getting bit by a cobra is like a very, very rare thing. They are not aggressive toward humans, and they would rather shy away from a person than attack. It would take them getting stepped on or handled roughly to be bitten. There are more than 30 species of cobra. The most famous one, the king cobra, isn't actually a cobra at all technically, but it gets lumped in because it has the same look and a hood that can flare out like a cobra. The Indian cobra is slightly smaller and is typically found in India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. And just like other cobras, when it's threatened, it stands upright, hisses, and flares its hood thanks to special ribs. Its front fangs contain the neurotoxin, and you don't want to be anywhere near them. Today, many states in the U.S. outlaw the ownership of cobras, and many others require a special permit. One of these is the state of Missouri, where the Missouri Department of Conservation requires a permit in addition to permission from local law enforcement. As far as the city of Springfield, the ownership of venomous snakes is outlawed unless you're something like a zoo or a research facility. But back in 1953, these regulations did not exist. Through almost all of America, the laws on owning exotic animals, including venomous snakes, were very lax. Some larger cities had laws against exotic animals or venomous snakes, but Springfield, Missouri did not. Even so, it was bizarre that Roland Parrish discovered an Indian cobra in his lawn on August 15, 1953. The snake rose upright, flared its hood, and struck out at Parrish. It missed, and Roland Parrish, who was equipped with a garden hoe, killed the snake. It was one of what would amount to at least 11 Springfield, Missouri encounters with cobras in the coming months. We'll tell you all about them after the break. Have you ever wondered why your work laptop has that little barcode sticker on it? Who put it there? And does anyone care if you just peel it off? Well, come to find out, that little sticker is part of a massively important business of what IT departments call hardware asset management, or HAM for short. Companies spend thousands of dollars on equipment for every employee, And they care a whole lot if you lose a machine, or if it breaks, or if it's running some software that's going to take down the whole network. Finance teams also need to account for things like depreciation and taxes. And here's the kicker. Most companies track this stuff by hand, and it takes a ton of time. Managing this is usually a painful process, but for over 20 years, Seattle-based Asset Management International, AMI, has been making software to simplify it. Their automated tools help companies of all sizes keep tabs on their equipment, from what's in storage to what's on your desk. They can even track stuff like medical equipment, corporate art collections, or construction tools. AMI's technology generates detailed reports and audits for the bean counters and ensures proper recycling of machines, which helps companies reduce their carbon footprint. Gone are the days of lengthy inventories and misplaced equipment. Any company that wants to reduce their IT person's daily headaches should get a demo from the folks over at AMI. Just visit www.amitracks.com. That's AMITRACKS.com, or visit the link in the show notes. If you love listening to this podcast every week and you want to show your support, that would mean a great deal to me. You can do that by becoming a Patreon member. We've got members at all levels, whether you want to pledge $1 a month or $10 a month. Just think about the value that you receive from this show. And if you like the histories and the stories that you learn about, or the jokes that you hear, and if you think that they're worth it, consider signing up. For that, you get every episode ad-free and a week early, access to bonuses like the unedited videos of the guest appearances, and 20% off all merchandise. You can sign up today at patreon.com/Michael Kent. That's patreon.com/Michael Kent. There was a time that humans used 100% organic products as healing balms and moisturizers for their skin. Well, I've partnered with an awesome company that wants to get back to those times. Fatco sells organic and responsibly made tallow-based skincare products. For centuries, humans used tallow in skin moisturizers and healing balms, but unfortunately, the topical application of these fats seemed to stop around the same time that animal fats stopped being considered part of a healthy diet. A lot of modern skincare products do more harm than good by stripping your skin of its natural oils. Let's change that. You can try them out now at fatco.com and get 15% off your order by using my promo code INTERNET. Go to theinternetsayitstrue.com/deals for the link.
I'm John DeSando, host of Back Talk. This podcast is an extension of the long-running, award-winning movie review show, It's Movie Time. Back Talk features additional content and banter with guests about new movies. If you want more insight and information about what's playing now in theaters and online, find Back Talk at the WCBE Podcast Experience on WCBE.org. You'll be happy you did.
Hey, I'm Cliff Bumgardner.
And I'm Harrison Stewart.
If you're like us, you probably grew up watching the Discovery Channel classic, Mythbusters.
From rocket cars to chicken cannons, Mythbusters proved there's no question too big, too small, or too ridiculous to put to the test.
Now we're going back to rewatch the show from episode 1, and we want you to follow along. Join us as we revisit every single myth, moment, experiment, and explosion from throughout the show's legendary 14 seasons. Subscribe now so you don't miss one.
After Roland Parrish killed an Indian Cobra in his lawn in 1953, he reported it to the Springfield, Missouri police. It was a strange encounter for sure, but at the time, they probably just thought that someone's pet had gotten loose. But 1 week later, Roland's neighbor across the street, Wesley Rose, found another one, and this time it was his pet bulldog who alerted him by barking. When he looked out the window, the dog was wrestling with the 4.5-foot cobra. He ran out of the house and killed the snake with a garden hoe. Apparently, this was the designated tool to kill cobras. Now, I was wondering the same thing you were, and no, there's no record of the dog dying or anything like that. I think the bulldog was fine, but the cobra wasn't. He paralyzed it with the first strike and killed it with the second. And now that we were talking about 2 Indian cobras, people became concerned. Rose brought this second snake to the police office, and that's where they brought together a group to examine it. It included Springfield police officers Raymond Sanders and Gabe Newman, a zoo director, Bill Swiney, a college instructor, J.M. Parson, and a high school science teacher, Herbert Condrak. Together, they confirmed the snake was indeed an Indian cobra, not native to the Americas and incredibly deadly to humans. Now that there was a clear pattern, the people in the neighborhood had one culprit in mind. Less than a block away was the Maurer Pet Shop, owned by a man named Leo Maurer. When police confronted him, he told them there was no way the snakes come from him. All of his snakes were accounted for. That said, the pet shop did carry exotic animals, including water moccasins, rare birds, and even an orangutan. His statement to the local paper was not, "We've never lost any of our snakes." It was, and this is a direct quote, "We haven't had a cobra loose in months. We've had them on hand all the time, but we haven't had any get away." End quote. Apparently this wasn't enough of a denial for panicked residents of Springfield, because after the reports of these snake encounters hit the newspapers, Maurer started receiving death threats. Cops started investigating him, but by the point they really started looking into his snake handling practices, he had secretly moved the rest of his snakes out of the city to a barn. Now, snake number 3 was found 8 days later by Ralph Moore, who shot it. Just kidding, he used a garden hoe. That same night, a 17-year-old kid found one in the road. He, apparently thinking out of the box, killed it with a car jack. And on September 3rd, a 6-year-old little girl told her parents she had seen a snake slither into their garage. Now, they were sure she was just scared from the reports of snakes in town. But sure enough, they looked in the garage and found a cobra. And that's where Howard McCoy killed it with a garden hoe. It's safe to say by this part, after 5 deadly Indian cobras in just a few weeks, people in Springfield were freaking out. The hospital got its hands on anti-venom just in case someone got bit. The fact that no one had been bitten yet is a testament to how unlikely it is to be bitten by these snakes. Like I said earlier, they would much rather flee from humans than strike out unless they absolutely need to. The next snake was found by Leo Maurer himself, the pet shop owner, who found one in the bushes outside of his shop and took it inside before police arrived. And the encounter after that is probably the scariest. I'm going to read this verbatim from a source that I found called undergroundozarks.com. This is nuts. This is Cobra encounter number 7. Quote, "Later that day, across the street from Maurer's shop, L.H. Stockton saw a snake coming out of his garden. Stockton threw a rock at it but missed his target, and he watched in horror as the 4-foot-long snake crawled through an opening in the foundation of his house and disappeared. The police were called, and Chief Frank Pike tried to use a 10-foot pole with a rope noose underneath the house to snare the snake, but failed. Stockton and his landlord gave police permission to bombard the crawl space with tear gas. A gas grenade was set off underneath the house, and the cobra came out. Officer Jack Strope aimed a shotgun at the snake, but the weapon jammed. Strope grabbed the pistol from his holster and shot the snake 5 times. However, the snake still managed to raise its hooded head. Chief Pike used his, quote, snake catcher pole to capture the snake with the rope, and the snake was killed with another hoe. By now, the entire town of Springfield was in an uproar, end quote. Garden hose to the rescue. So once again, that was from undergroundozarks.com, and I won't go into detail on each one of these snake sightings after this, but it added up to 11 snakes in all. That's the ones that they found anyway. And at one point, the city health director, Del Kaywood, commandeered a truck equipped with a PA system and drove it around the neighborhood playing a record of Indian snake charming music and blasting it from the truck's roof-mounted loudspeakers. Absolutely crazy. Now, in October, one of the snakes was actually captured alive. This helped to prove that they were actually Indian cobras. Now, one of the snakes is still around. You can still see it, preserved in a jar of formaldehyde at Drury University. The snake scare lasted from August 15th to October 25th. And then after October, no other snakes were found. They couldn't find a culprit and couldn't prove that Maurer had anything to do with it, even though he was the guy that sold exotic snakes to carnivals. He always denied it to the grave. The police figured out the barn where he was storing his snakes on the outskirts of town, and they forced him to move them out of the county. And in December, the city enacted an ordinance banning the ownership of dangerous snakes. Springfield's Cobra Scare of 1953 was so surprising and unusual that Life magazine and Newsweek both ran stories about it nationally. It became such an interesting story that was associated with the city that they put a cobra on their official city seal. Okay, well, the truth of that one is that the seal already had a snake, and they just changed the head on the snake to make it look like a cobra. The origin of the snakes remained a mystery for 35 years. It took 35 years for the real culprit to come forward. This was 11 years after the death of Leo Maurer. It was an exclusive interview that the Springfield News Leader ran in the June 26, 1988 edition of the paper, where a man named Carl Barnett finally admitted the truth. His exact words were, quote, "I'm the one that done it," end quote. At this point, Carl was 49 years old, making him just 14 in 1953. He told the whole story to the paper. He had bought a fish from a pet store. It was an exotic fish, and the fish died, and he went back to return it and get his money back, and the store owner wouldn't give him a refund. So as he was leaving out the back door of the pet shop, he was angry, and he noticed a crate full of snakes and opened it up before running away. He didn't know they were cobras, and he said if he had known that they were deadly, he wouldn't have done it. He was just trying to get back at the shop owner. Any guesses as to who that was, the shop owner? That's right, it was Rio Maurer. Maurer's pet shop was the source of the cobras after all, and he never knew how the snakes got out. But now, thanks to the guilty conscience of a man who held it in for more than 3 decades, we now know the truth. The internet says it's true. It's time for Yap Yap with me and a friend. Today, I'm calling one of our frequent guests, Glen Tickle. Glen's a comedian from New Jersey. We'd like to specify he's not from Pennsylvania, and he's appeared on Dry Bar Comedy, Travel Channel, Cozy TV. You can hear him on SiriusXM, millions of views on TikTok. On top of that, he sucks at the violin, but he's really good at juggling. Also really good at Dr. Mario, and so happy to have you here, man.
Thank you.
It's been a few weeks since we had you in, and how's the new year going so far for you?
Oh, horrible, but not just for me, just like in general. I mean, also for me, but it's all on fire, baby.
Yeah, it is. We're just kind of watching it burn. It's been a few weeks since I had you on, but we have done the new segment where I ask my guests to come up with something that they think maybe I haven't heard about. Do you have anything that maybe some weird piece of knowledge that's rattling around in Glen Tickle's head?
Oh yeah, we did do that last time.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, man, I feel like that is so much of what I bring to any conversation.
This is who I am.
It's just me being like, oh, did you know this thing?
You are modern day Cliff Clavin.
I'm gonna say, so have you seen Moana 2?
No.
Me neither. But I thought I was gonna have to, because I have young daughters who love the first one. They had minimal interest in ever seeing a sequel. I found out that Moana 2 has the same kind of road to production that the movie Mulholland Drive had. Where so the David Lynch movie Mulholland Drive was made originally as a TV pilot, and then the network was like, no, actually, we don't want this, but you can have all the footage and stuff. So he's like, well, I'll add to it and make it a feature. And apparently that is what happened with Moana 2. It was going to be an ongoing series, and they're like, we could actually probably make more money if we just crank this out as a full-on sequel. So they just took, the pilot episode of a series and added to it until it was feature length, and then it really rocked the cinema world upon I don't know how it did. I don't know.
I don't know either, but that's a winner. I'd never heard that. That's incredible. And I didn't know that about Mulholland Drive. I can't imagine Mulholland Drive as a series.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was
It would be so
Showtime.
disjointed.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the pure linear story, easy to understand story that we all know and love.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird. Wow, that's crazy. So this week, we've got a fun story, very interesting. It was sent in by one of my listeners. And for the first question, as always, we're going to play for a joke. If you get it wrong, you got to tell me a joke. If you get it right, I'll pull one out of this Friars Club encyclopedia and we'll make it happen.
Nice.
In 1953, the city of Springfield, Missouri, was shocked to see a rash of appearances of a certain animal, as many as 11 of this animal. It was not native to Springfield, and so it had residents frightened for several months until the sightings stopped. What was the animal? Was it A, mountain lions, B, Indian cobras, or C, chimpanzees?
Ooh, I mean, you kind of don't want any of those running around.
That's right.
Where they don't belong. I feel like I don't know very much about the Illinois biosphere.
Oh, we're doing Missouri, Springfield, Missouri.
Oh,
Yeah. Not that it makes a difference. At
right.
all.
That's well then in that case, I know a lot.
Yeah.
No, it's the same. I feel like there's probably mountain lions somewhere in Missouri. Just based on the fact that I think there's a couple mountains there. So I feel like that's a little obvious. The cobra thing, I don't think they would survive. I think it would be too cold, and they would be, because they're snakes, right? So they're cold-blooded. I think they would just be too chill to be a problem if you let them loose in Missouri. When was this? Did you give
This
a
was
date?
1953.
But not like a time of year or anything?
Yeah, it was. I can give you that. It was between August and October.
Oh, that's peak snake time. Snakes love a Missouri August. So maybe snakes? Chimpanzees, man. If it's 11 of them, they would, I think I would have heard about it. I think they would have turned Missouri into Planet of the Apes in a matter of days. Like if you just let 11
Right.
chimpanzees run around, they would cause so much chaos that it wouldn't be like a fun anecdote.
Yeah.
I'm going to say snakes.
Snakes, you are correct. It's Indian Cobras.
Nice.
Yeah. So the fun part of this story is that after they found these 11 snakes for like 30 years, no one knew why it happened or how it happened. And then
No one, they couldn't guarantee there's not a number 12 running around.
No, and then like the 80s, some dude was like, "It was me. Here's what happened," and I don't know if he was, just guilty, just for 3 decades, just weighing on his conscience. But yeah, this dude
Sure.
got mad at a store owner and let his snakes loose, and that's kind of where we got there.
Like in
And,
Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
very much like in Pee-wee's Big
He just
Adventure.
runs out holding them?
Ah! Yeah. Yeah, it was, I guess, I don't know, this dude had some cobras in a cage, and it sounds like the cage was outside, like near the back door. So the kid ran out and just like, screw you, and opened the door and just left. And then like, a few days later, people were like, this probably shouldn't be around Springfield, Missouri.
For sure.
Yeah. Let me find a joke. Tell me a page number between 1 and 500.
69.
Okay.
Because I'm a child.
69. Okay. If you break 100, watch your golf. If you break 80, watch your business. I don't even.
Okay.
What?
I don't know
Break
anything
100,
about
watch your
golf or business, so this. I like to think I know a lot about jokes. So like sometimes I'll hear a joke where it's like I don't understand the thing this joke is about, but like the joke math checks out.
Yeah.
I got it.
Do you got it?
I got no idea.
Oh yeah, no.
So 100, right? That's if you break 100.
Yeah. If
right,
you're
you
over
want to score under 100
ideally
to look like a good little boy.
Ideally, yes. Now, if you break 80, watch your business. This was said by Joey Adams. Listeners, if you know what this
Star
means,
of Chasing Amy, Joey Lauren Adams said
I don't think
a thing about golf and business.
I don't think that's who this was, based on when most of these jokes were written. Yeah, listeners, let me know what this joke means. I normally would go and find a better joke, but I'm so curious about
if
this
you
now.
break 100,
watch your golf.
Watch your golf.
If you break 80, watch your business.
Because you're old and you should retire and make room for a younger generation.
Oh,
that seems less like a joke and just more practical advice.
Yeah,
get out of the way, olds.
Either way, this isn't a dodge. This isn't a joke. But I was thinking 80 was maybe like $80,000. But again, we would need to know when this joke was written.
So if you break 80,
oh no, that would be a good thing.
Breaking 80, scoring under 100 in golf is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, I'm sure. Does it vary by course? I know there's like different pars on. I've only played Tiger Wood golf.
I was going to say I have a context clue in that I was hoping the category was golf, but it's not. The category is business, so this doesn't help.
So here's my assumption, right? So if you are good enough at golf to score under 100, hey, great job, right? If you go over 100, hey, you got to practice golf a little bit there, buddy. If you get so good at golf that you're scoring under 80, then you're depriving other areas of your life of the attention they need.
Okay.
So
like
watch
that.
your business because you're getting too
I
good
think
at
you're right.
golf. I would say maybe focus on interpersonal relationships first,
Sure.
over business.
Yeah.
If
That's
you're
what you would say,
scoring,
but not this joke.
right,
You're
because
listening to
mine's
Mike and
not.
Glenn
I would say
explain
because mine's
jokes.
not very funny, but I don't think this joke is either.
No. It would actually be a pretty interesting podcast to just get two comedians to
Try to figure out what old jokes mean.
old
I
jokes.
have my parents are getting ready to sell their house, my childhood home, so they're going through everything that they own and pawning it off on their children.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like, oh hey, we kept this. I don't need this. Thanks though, mom. I have a joke on my last special that was filmed 2023 about my mom gave me a bunch of my hair and teeth from when I was a baby. Yesterday, more hair. I don't know why they had it. I don't know why there's a second round of baby hair as like a emergency strategic reserve, but now I have more of it that I didn't want in the first place.
That's amazing.
But in that that round of stuff, they did also give me a very old joke book. It's like jokes for every occasion,
Sure.
but it's from like the 30s, so all the occasions are racist. There's I didn't really look at any of the jokes. I did look at table of contents to see exactly how they broke the jokes down, and it is of course mostly by race. Yeah.
Is this the book?
No,
this is 5,001 and two-liners for any and every occasion by Leopold.
If you give me a
Fechner.
second, I can go run and grab it.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But
I once gave this book to we have friends with kids. We don't have
Sure.
kids, but we have friends with kids, and I gave this to that as here it says clean jokes. That's fair game to give to a kid. And the next time those kids visited, she gave it back to me, and she says, "I don't understand what any of this means." Didn't get any of the references or anything. All right, let's move on. Question 2: we're gonna play for one of those wooden snakes, like that you like. It's like connected,
Sure.
but you wiggle it, and I'll mail you one of those if you get this right. In addition to hood flaring and hissing, what other behavior does the Indian cobra do when threatened? A, they puff up their bodies like a pufferfish. B, they roll into a ball like an armadillo. Or C, they play dead.
I mean, you did say in addition to, so if it was already doing those first two things, playing dead, I mean, you can't play dead and hiss, I mean, you could, but you wouldn't.
I would say this. The
you wouldn't
question
be
is
very
worded
convincing.
weird. In addition, in its arsenal of tools.
Oh, okay.
Of which
so it's
it
not
may
all
choose
at once.
one. Right.
Okay. I mean, playing dead is a solid move for most situations. That's usually my go-to when threatened. I mean, I guess I mostly just pretend to be asleep more than actual dead. So what is it? Roll into a ball?
Roll into a ball like an armadillo, puff up their bodies like a pufferfish, or play dead.
Well, armadillos roll up into a ball because they got scales and armor, so that's more protective.
Sure.
Snake is all kind of squishy, so if it rolled itself into a ball, it's just squishy in a different shape. So I don't think that would really protect it.
Yeah.
Puffing. So pufferfish do it. Makes them harder to eat.
Is that right?
Yeah, like if you're a big fish and you're trying to eat a little pufferfish and it gets real big in your mouth, even the ones that don't have like spines and stuff.
Sure. But they're also hella toxic. So
yeah,
kind of.
It's like trying to swallow a balloon, a thing I think I might have seen you do once.
Not me, but other magi.
I've for sure seen people do it. And if I had to list of the people that I knew who may have swallowed a balloon, but you're in the top 5.
Top 5.
I'm gonna have to say play dead.
The answer?
I'm not excited about it.
Okay.
But I think that's what it is.
Well, you'll be happy to know the answer is play dead. They sometimes, and they only do it if they feel like they're overmatched. Basically,
again, that's why I do it.
They make an assessment right there. They're like, okay, is the hissing and hood flaring going to work in the situation, or is this thing this. I don't even know what outmatches an Indian cobra. I'm sure that there are things that outmatch an
Mongoose.
Indian. Yeah, mongoose, clearly.
Yeah,
Mongoose.
for sure.
So
I read
maybe
that story.
but they don't play dead on a mongoose because, right? They fight. That's a famous drawing.
Well, at least that
a
one
famous
time.
woodcut.
I mean, if Rudyard Kipling is to be believed.
This is correct. And in most times, we believe the Kip. So did I just say the Kip?
The Kip. Ruddy Kips.
Yeah. So basically, you got that right. So I'm going to send you one of those wooden snakes in the mail that you can give to your kids, or just keep for yourself. Totally. I had one when I was a kid. It's made out of plastic, and I took it apart and broke it. Question 3.
Yeah, I think I've done the exact same thing.
We're going to play for a sticker. This is 3 inches and it's square, and it says the internet says it's true. Which deity is commonly associated with the Indian cobra in Hindu mythology?
Oh,
is it I don't know how
oh, good. I keep forgetting that these are multiple choice.
Yeah, it makes it a little
easier.
easier.
I don't even know where to start, and you start giving possibilities. It's like, okay,
this one's hard because there's no way even when you hear is it A, Lord Vishnu, B, Lord Shiva, or C, Lord Ganesha?
I truly have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about.
I don't either.
This or many other religions. Ganesh is the elephant-looking one, right?
Okay.
I'm leaning pretty heavily on a monologue from the movie Dogma for this.
Yeah. Great movie.
What's the first option?
It was Vishnu or Shiva or Ganesha.
I don't know anything about Vishnu. Shiva, I think, is associated with death. And I feel like that's what would happen if I encountered an Indian cobra. So I'm gonna go Shiva.
That was an incredible. It wasn't a guess because you had some logic behind that. So that's correct. In Hindu mythology, Lord Shiva is often depicted with a cobra around his neck. This symbolizes his mastery over fearsome creatures, his power to protect, and his connection to the cyclical nature of life and renewal. So yeah, there you go. Some people call it a king cobra that's around his neck, but apparently it's an Indian cobra, but I don't know that it matters. So,
do you think it's because I feel like they're probably a little touchy about monarchy?
Yeah, maybe they don't want to talk. Yeah, maybe, possibly. Last week's episode,
because I know that's a thing in Australia. Burger King is called. This is another thing you may or may not know. In Australia, Burger King is Hungry Jack's because I guess businesses aren't allowed to be the king or queen of things because of the association with that little tidbit. That's fantastic, man. In the UK,
you should have held that for a future episode. That was a good one. Yeah, that's fair. The last week's episode that we ran a rewind last week, and it was about things that happened when Britain controlled India. Have you ever heard about the Indian cobra effect, or what they call the cobra effect? It's one of these things where like it happened once and now it's how they name a phenomenon. So basically there were cobras everywhere, and the people that controlled the area said like, hey, bring us dead cobras and we'll pay you.
Oh, yeah. So then people start breeding
cobras. Yeah. And so anytime like you try to create or try to solve a problem and it ends up creating more of that problem, they call it the cobra effect because of that. So, all right, man, you get a sticker. That is fantastic. I'm amazed that we've gotten through 3 questions and you have not brought up Buckaroo Banzai. This might be a record for this podcast.
It's the longest I've ever got without talking about it.
Because generally we find a way to work it in, but now,
it is my favorite movie.
Tell me, what city are you living in these days?
I live outside of Phillipsburg, New Jersey, which is the closest thing to a city near me, but I'm in a tiny town that nobody's ever heard of.
What's Phillipsburg known for?
Nothing.
Oh, I'm sure I'm sure that there's something.
I think there is someone from my high school at some point, I think, had a short-lived NFL career.
Okay, there you go.
There's another performer, Alan Starzinski, who graduated from my high school a couple years after me, who is had a couple TV appearances, done stuff in LA with, I think, with UCB. So he's another entertainer. I think there's and I'm not saying this because I think I'm famous. I might be one of the more well-known people to have graduated, from my high school.
I love it. Apparently, there was a famous flood there in 1936. I'm reading
People aren't
Wikipedia
still talking about
at
it.
this point.
It doesn't come up.
I love. Okay, so notable people. You need to get on this list, my friend. I think I'm looking at.
I
the
need
right
a
place.
Wikipedia page. Is what I need.
Yeah,
I mentioned in a couple.
Oh,
but I don't.
that
There's
should
not
be
like a
enough to get you one.
dedicated. There's not like a dedicated Wikipedia page. I occasionally post on social media asking people to do it because you're not supposed to make one for yourself.
Yeah,
which is like policy, but also I feel like it's kind of sad if you do it yourself.
So, just reading on Wikipedia for Phillipsburg, one of the notable people is Michael L. Hess, who is a physician / cardiologist. And I'm so curious as to
I could be more
why.
famous than a cardiologist.
This is what I'm thinking. Now he's got a great headshot, but he
not to disparage his great work, but
yeah, no, it seems
who's
like
talking
he's got
about
a solid career.
cardiologists. You know?
He's got a solid career. He's not around anymore, but he had a solid career. He married Andrea Hastillo on. This is interesting.
Oh, I know Andrea. Like, oh yeah, I know Andrea.
We've got a random cardiologist, and it's talking about him as if he's like a celebrity. So, okay, sorry, we've gotten
that feels like a guy who made his own Wikipedia page.
Possibly,
that's what that feels like. That's why you're not supposed to make your own.
Possibly,
Dr. Hess.
I may or may not have made my own, but we're not going to talk about that. But it's still there and it exists, and the thing that it gets rejected, but the thing that my little way around that, I think, if you have created something or invented something, then it's like part of their rules that makes you eligible for a Wikipedia page.
Yeah, you have to be like, I think I forget how they word it.
Yeah,
but it's like, well, yeah, I have
so there you
credit. So there's like reputable news outlets that have pointed to my work. Isn't that you need like links? Isn't that what they're looking for?
I think you're legit. I think you should have one. So for question 4, we're going to play for a souvenir from your city. In 1953, Springfield, Missouri became home to which one of the following things? A, the first U.S. television broadcast using color. B, the creation of the iconic Pepperoni dog treats. Or C, the opening of the first drive-through bank in the United States. So 1953, Springfield, Missouri. It was either the first broadcast using color, B, pepperoni dog treats, C, drive-through bank. And this one is a little tricky, and I'll explain why after.
Okay. I don't know where dog treats come from.
Specifically pepperoni dog treats.
Yeah. I mean, that feels a little too specific to be the answer. Drive-through bank, maybe, but I feel like we were probably driving through stuff before that. 53 seems about right for maybe like as a test for color TV, but not widely adopted until later. But maybe as like a science experiment. They like figured out they could do it in 1953, but most people didn't get it till later. I'm going to say color TV.
The answer, the opening of the first drive-through bank in the U.S. So the first U.S. television broadcast using color just had nothing to do with Springfield, Missouri is the thing there. But B, the creation of the iconic pepperoni dog treat. Springfield, Missouri is home to pepperoni. However, that was in the mid-30s that they did that. So, yeah.
Oh, see, I would have guessed it was later if that was definitely one of them.
Yeah. So this drive-through bank, part of Guarantee Bank, which introduced the innovative concept to make banking more convenient.
Is it a crime if I say I'm going to go rob that bank out of spite for getting this question wrong? Is that?
I don't know.
Am I protected under satire laws?
I think you are because you're a comedian, so it's like inherently.
Okay, and also I can't imagine the bank is still there. If it is,
who knows?
I'm coming for you, Springfield.
It could be like our Wendy's. The original Wendy's is here in Columbus, Ohio, but it's no longer a Wendy's. It's like a Catholic center office for some like Catholic association or something, I think. And it used to be you could go to the original Wendy's and they had memorabilia. Now the museum store that they call it is across from Wendy's headquarters, but it's not. It's a new Wendy's. It's not. It just has some of the old stuff in it, which is cool. All right. So no souvenir from your city. That was. I don't think I read this, but we were playing for a souvenir from Phillipsburg.
Yeah. Oh,
So
man, I don't know.
That would have been hard anyway, I guess. Oh no, you do have.
You're right.
You got it wrong. So you have to find me
There's
something
a
from Phillipsburg.
train museum.
Oh, okay. I like trains. What I would like
They-
is really, I would like a souvenir about physician Michael L. Hess, if they have
I'll
like
see
a
what I can
postcard.
find. I'll see if I can find his old office. They keep dangling the possibility of like actually having the train station be a working train station again.
Oh.
But they keep not doing it. You can take like a couple miles of track. You can like ride back and forth and go
Yeah.
on like the Santa train or the wine train a couple times a year.
Yeah,
I would like to be able to just use it to get places around the country.
exactly. For what they were meant for. Yeah, they have that in
Yeah.
Scranton at the Rail Museum in Scranton also. Like
Yeah.
you can do the old historic thing, but it really just goes back and forth on a little piece of track. I was this good clean joke book that I told you I gave to my friend's kid and they didn't know what it was. Here's a joke. The boy says, "Do you know, Dad, that in some parts of Africa, a man doesn't know his wife until he marries her?" And Dad says, "Why single out Africa?" Which is, okay, we get the joke. But what I think is most interesting is this is, it's categorized by the topic of the joke. And the
Yeah.
topic of this joke is out of Africa. I think that, and that's the only joke in the category. That's the topic. That's the one joke. It was like they had this joke and like, we don't know how to categorize this joke.
Man, I got that joke ended better than I thought it was going to.
Sure.
From an old joke book that starts with
Exactly.
a reference to Africa.
I
was
would
like,
not
oh,
have
no.
read it.
Oh no,
otherwise.
you're gonna have to cut this part out.
Yeah, I would not have. Even the category called pain in the neck has two jokes, but out of Africa, just the
I
one.
don't think they understand how categories.
No, I think you're right. They had the list of jokes, and then someone's job was just, hey, categorize these. And then they just got lazy, and they're like, this is about Africa.
They're just
But
watching Out of Africa, and they're like, yeah, let's just do that.
Oh, this book way predates Out of Africa. Okay, question 5. This one's for all the marbles. If you get it right, you're welcome back on the podcast anytime. If you get it wrong, you're banned for life. You're currently 3 for 4. If you, Glen Tickle, were an exotic pet owner, which pet would you choose?
This is a great question. Top of my list, if I could get a pet today, dog. But
Not
my wife and
exotic.
children don't want me to be happy, so I can't get.
They don't want, really. Normally, it's the other way around. It's like the wife and children want the dog, and the father is usually the one saying, "Listen, I'm not going to be taking this
Right.
dog out at 5 a.m.
I would love to take a dog out at 5 a.m. We have a rabbit, currently 3 rats, and what are we at? 7 chickens.
Oh my god!
So we're good on exotics.
Yeah,
I would like just a regular, normal pet.
you have rats. You have 3 rats as pets.
3 rats as pets.
Wow.
Because my wife works with a rat rescue organization.
Wait, are you serious? There is
For real. Yeah.
Oh.
For real. We've had
Well, we've just found the most interesting thing about this podcast.
we've had
that
we've
is
had pet
I
rats
didn't know
over
such
the
a
years.
thing existed.
Yeah, we've had pet rats on and off over the years, basically
That's
as long as
amazing.
we've been married. They're
Wow.
great. It's the downside is they don't live very long.
Ah.
So it's just like a constant cycle of being bummed out.
So the rescuing really more for you than
Yeah.
the rat.
It's like, I don't know, let's give it a couple more
Extra
months
weeks.
here.
Yeah.
And yeah. I think it's like 1 to 3 years.
Oh, that's very short. Yeah.
They're cute and fun.
Okay. So if you were to choose another exotic pet,
Oh,
like a
right,
more
the actual
exotic, I guess.
question.
Yeah.
I was gonna get. I mean, since I'm not gonna get one anyway, I feel like I want to say bonobo
Oh, good one.
because they're the closest to us genetically.
Yeah.
But it would be a horrible mistake because it would just it would rip your arms off like a Wookiee. For
Yeah.
sure.
Clearly eat your face.
Excuse me.
No, you're
The
fine.
people who owned our house before us actually had a pet duck. that lived in the house. So for years and years after we moved in, we would just find feathers at random places.
That's pretty funny.
So definitely not a duck. I think I would say bonobo, since this is
Bonobo? That's the correct answer.
Right.
Bonobo.
And I'm
I was
not
looking
actually
for
going to
bonobo.
have to have one.
I feel like if I had a pet bonobo, it would be like another person in the house who understands my problems. Like they're just close enough into human that they would get me.
Right.
In some ways, maybe more than the other people in my house.
Definitely.
But yeah, for the most part,
it's the same reason I genuinely want a dog.
I love bonobos so much that it makes me angry every time I go to the Columbus Zoo, which is, by the way, a world-class zoo, famous zoo.
Yeah, it's a great one. You guys have
a
couple.
There's a walking path in the zoo, right? Every park.
Yeah.
There's a path of, or what's the word? A flow that most people go, and the bonobos are the end of that.
Yeah.
If you want to see the bonobos first, you're walking to the very, very back of the zoo. And what happens every time we go to the zoo, and I bitch about it every time, is that we get too tired to make it to the primates. And that's my favorite part. And so I very rarely get to see the bonobo and the bonobos and the apes and the gibbons and all these amazing monkeys that we have in the zoo. I do not get to see them because we're too tired by that point. So
it is there's a local zoo about a little less than an hour away, I think, and it is like a 2 to 3 hour trip to like do the loop, see everything, have lunch, total. It's hard to make more than half a day out of it. Sure. And then I went to the Columbus Zoo a couple of years ago, and I didn't take into consideration how much bigger it was, because by the time I was there with my friend Talcott, by the time we got to the apes, it's like I think we've walked like total 4 miles, because it wasn't like a straight line there. We're going.
Oh yeah, I got heat stroke once at the zoo because we went when it was hot and I was drinking, and it was not a good idea. And we had to leave. It was bad. Yeah, it's a big zoo. Sure. It's a big zoo. It's a great zoo, though. So, all right, man. You got that right. So you're welcome back on the podcast. And you get some gifts for this one. You get a sticker and a snake.
I will someday do a clean sweep of these questions.
One day. It's been a very long time since anyone's done a clean sweep. But also, I've been making the questions fairly hard. There's always one like the Vishnu question. Actually, you got that one right, didn't you? The Shiva.
That one I nailed.
That was the hardest one in this week. Yeah, the bank one. Yeah, also difficult. But all right, dude. If you want to learn about Glen Tickle and where to see him, you go to his website, which is glentickle.com. That's Glen with one N, glentickle.com. And you can see him do stand-up, and you can watch him tonight open for magician Murray Sawchuck at actually, by the time that this comes out,
that'll probably have already
2 weeks ago. So don't go see him at the at what's the theater that you were at?
The Emmaus Theater.
The Emmaus Theater.
Beautiful Emmaus, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I'll be going on tour this year doing a co-headlining show with my friend Ricky Glore. So we will be coming to a city near you, basically as long as the city is between where he lives and where I live. So he's in Kentucky, I'm in New Jersey. That's kind of the radius.
There you go. If you're around the Kentucky, New Jersey area, go see Glen and his friend. Dude, thanks for coming on. It was awesome having you back. That's all for this week. Thank you so much to Glen Tickle for being my guest, and thanks to you for listening. Here's the voice of a child snake charmer.
Thank you for listening to The Internet Says It's True. To listen to episodes ad-free and a week early, support us on Patreon. You can do that at patreon.com/Michael Kent. If you learned something just now that you didn't already know, go to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review with 5 stars and a few words. That helps us a ton, because that's how the algorithm works. I don't know what an algorithm is, but just do it. See you next week for a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True!
The Internet Says It's True would like to thank the Patreon subscribers whose monthly contributions help to make this show possible. Sean Brown, Joshua Endress, Dallas Ray, Bryce Swanson, Eugene Anderson, Jim and Joanne Martin, Mitch and Andrew Joseph Kemplin, and the show's official Emperor, Kick Track. The show is written and produced by me, Michael Kent. The theme song is by Finite Music Forge, and all audio clips in this episode are used for education and commentary and used under Fair Use Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107. You can listen to past episodes by searching for The Internet Says It's True wherever you get your podcasts, and you can see bonus content at patreon.com/Michael Kent.